Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
And this is Aaron, I go by Treffenwood on Discord.
And this is Zach, I go by Nitro Zeus on Discord.
All right. Welcome back to a riveting episode of Infamous. This week we have Zach on as a guest star. Normal announcements, as always, we have links in the show notes. And Parker, we found the scraps.
Yep.
We found the smallest thing that could legally be distinguished as news.
We got news!
Hey,
news! Yes.
News.
So yeah, news is pretty thin today, but it technically counts. And I'm excited actually for both of them coming up, so we'll go ahead and call it news. We have some pre-orders up on Asmodee's website for Yondu and Nova, and Elsa Bloodstone and Man-Thing. Those two boxes are coming together. We know a little bit about the boxes now. For example, we know that Yondu and Nova are coming with 3 Team Tactics cards, probably Guardians related or character related. There's a little blurb in there, but it's kind of like, it's such generic nonsense. It just says like, Yondu is a guy with a deadly bow and arrow, and Nova is a hard-hitting medium zone character. What does that even mean? Like,
medium zone?
That's what it says, medium zone. Like,
well-known medium zone.
Yeah, a well-known
He's
thing.
well known for his medium zone.
Yeah. I know whenever I pick characters for MCP, the first thing I consider is their zone.
I prefer a large zone myself, but I know medium is the standard.
Yeah. But before we move on to the other ones, are you guys excited about Yondu? Anybody here excited for Yondu or Nova?
Okay, I have a question though. Does he normally use a bow in the comics?
Yes.
Is the whole control node thing just not a thing in the comics? They made that up?
They made that up for the MCU completely? Yes.
Okay.
In the comics,
right.
Their whole race actually is known for using bows. He specifically does control his arrow, like it has like a sentience, but he shoots it with a bow, yeah.
If he can control it, why does he need a bow?
Shut up. That's why.
Is that why they got rid of the bow from the movie? They're like,
Yeah.
This makes no fucking sense.
Now, I will say,
Magneto uses a bow and arrow, and you're like, what? It's like he has a gun.
He had a really cool RP character idea, okay? He wants to do it. Shut up.
It's like Magneto carries around like a 1911 so he can shoot a bullet at somebody and then control the bullet. And you're like, wait, what?
I will say that the race that he belongs to, in the
Yondus?
no,
The Blueies?
Stop! God damn it! Now it makes me really upset that I don't know their name off the top of my head. Oh,
I
what
come
is
from a whole race of gear people. Calling me gearhead is like calling an Chinese person Asian face.
Okay.
Can't do that.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
is it?
guys. I just found out their names, and it's so stupid. I don't even want to say it out loud.
We'll go with the Blueies.
Oh,
The place.
oh
Yeah,
no!
the
I
Yonduans.
knew it started with a C. I didn't know it was this dumb. Oh, I'm gonna say it out loud.
Say
The
it.
race is
Okay.
called the Centaurians. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh,
You see,
I'm
you
so
stood there on your
sorry.
fucking high horse, and then it was a Trojan high horse.
oh
You
my
didn't
God!
realize.
It's so sad that I stood up for this fucking Marvel comics, and it's just let me down so hard. Oh, Jesus Christ!
To answer your question, since these models are just stat cards hiding under plastic, I have no clue if I'm excited or not yet.
Okay.
Zach,
Well,
how about
none
you?
of this is going to tell you anything.
I'm hopeful that one of those tactics cards is another leadership, just to give Guardians some more flexibility, but I think it would have been nice if one of them was just also a leader, and we don't know what any of that looks like yet, but would have just preferred one on a card.
I think we
I
do
really
know,
hope-
right? Because we've seen the
It will have the star next to his name if he's the legal leader.
or just timelines. We've seen the timelines
The
list, right?
affiliation update, yeah, and
Yeah.
Yondu's on there. I don't know if he has a star or not. I
No,
didn't look.
he does not. I can take a
I
look
don't think
real
he
fast.
does.
You
'cause
realize
every-
the same
every
people who
affiliation
wrote
has
the
one.
back of the box middle control blurb are the same people who put stars or not on the timelines document?
I don't
I'm
actually
just
think
saying.
that's true. I don't think that's true, actually.
I mean, the timelines document is Dracula a legal leader?
I don't know. I didn't look.
What's
Parker?
the name of his?
Don't
What's the
remember
name of
if
his
he has a
leadership
star.
again? No, he has a star.
Oh, but no, the
Thralls of
Dracula
Dracula, he does.
affiliation isn't a playable affiliation, is it?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So, are you
No,
sure?
in timelines.
Are you sure he has a star in timelines?
Oh, in timelines.
I don't think he does. I think it's because he has a
He
card.
does not.
But-
So he
So
cannot be a
you're
leader in
saying
timelines.
there's
That's
hope.
just what that means.
But Thralls
I
of
think Aaron's
Dracula
saying
is a
there's
legal card.
typo.
Oh,
Yeah, you can
All I'm
play it, you
saying,
can choose Dracula as your
Are
leader.
you honestly telling me that shit matters at all? Back of the
That's a
box,
card.
pre-release blurbs, stars, no stars, fucking rules. They just make up whatever they want and put it on a card.
Aaron, don't try and take my medium zone away. I want my medium zone.
It's true.
I
just
live
saying.
in
How
the
about
medium
this?
zone.
Here's an interesting question. Would you prefer blurbs like this, where it's just AI generated gobbledygook that means nothing, or do you prefer it when they were objective lies, where they said Craven the Hunter can move twice and do 2 separate 7-die attacks, or roll 28 dice worth of attacks, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And then you read it, and you're like, "That's literally not legal, unless you were to play climbing gear and I like seeing red or something. Like, there's no legal way to do what they said you can do."
I just don't pay any attention to it until it comes out.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't think that's a bad way to do it.
Zach, do you want? So it does, we doubt you'll get a leader. Would do you still? Have you played Guardians a lot? Do you like Guardians?
I like Guardians. My brother's played him a lot more, so it's more about his hype about him.
Okay. So you can be excited, but you can't be as excited for Elsa Bloodstone as I am because
It's
I'm
not
so
possible.
excited. It's not possible.
I'm more excited for Flesh Thing. I mean, Man Thing.
Man flesh.
We'll call him Mac Attack.
He does. He is the good model for your Mac Attack concept.
I'm just going to
Uh,
paint him as a
yellow.
giant OSL and call him Fleshlight.
He will be, quote, a durable tank who punishes enemies for damaging his allies.
Ooh.
So maybe he'll have like a Ghost Rider type effect. That'd be cool. Elsa Bloodstone is, probably a generic damage dealer with mystic attacks, but we'll see.
Do you think her guns are going to be mystic?
It says has ranged attacks that deal with supernatural and natural threats. Specifically says that. So
That's her entire description.
You thought that meant mystic attacks?
yeah, that's usually what they mean because Blade has mystic swords, right?
What? His swords are magical.
They're silver. That's all
Yeah.
they are.
Magical.
That's not what that means.
I don't know. It might.
Oh, I can't believe I said his name. I've done such a good job not saying his name for so long. I can't believe I did.
Well, no. You have infinite probations at this point.
I know, I understand,
You-
but
you-
I still.
you-
It was the principle of being able to only call him the Dompier for so long. I got really good at it.
Mhm.
Elsa, it looks like she only comes. Elsa and Man Thing come with 2 tactics cards, so we know Elsa is going to be a leader, but we're not sure what the tactics cards are. We'll see, I guess. Aaron, I know you were excited for the Man Thing. You want to split the box in half? You take Man Thing, I'll take Elsa, and we'll call it good.
Maybe.
Oh, ooh, wow! I did not expect that. Okay.
I just want to see you guys actually saw a box in half. It's going to be great. I don't even care if the models are in. I just want to watch it happen.
Do like one of those knife commercials and just start.
Yeah.
It does anything.
What's the King Solomon? Where he's like, cut the baby in 2, and you're like, what? Like, how the fuck is that supposed to help?
Zach, since your brother gets to enjoy Guardians more than you, are you excited for Elsa? Or do you
I am excited for Elsa and Man Thing. I think Man Thing's
Okay.
sculpt looks pretty cool, and I'm excited to play some more Midnight Suns. I need to get the monsters still, though. I am missing those.
How do you not have the monsters?
How does he not have the monsters?
Yeah, it seems like right up your alley.
Well, he only plays on TTS now. That's his
I've
new
been
rule.
knee
that's
deep
true.
in playing virtual games with Wakandans.
I mean, I think I would be quite poor at TDS if I played with my knees. I don't know. I mean, I have hard enough time with my fingers.
What a wonderful image in my mind.
Just like kneeling on my keyboard. Like,
Yeah.
why is it so hard?
Man, I don't know why I like TTS. This sucks.
It's not bad.
Shit. All right. Well, that was news, so we can get on. This is a good segue. We can move on.
If you did not like our news segment, please direct all hate mail to Parker. He suggested it.
You can find me at mutilus@hotmail.com.
God damn it. I mean, you think it's funny. What's your email address, by the way?
Did I get it right with one
Could
guess?
it possibly be onewhoparks@gmail?
Shut up! Shut up!
Shut up! I feel like the Tom Green show when he's like, he had that one famous guy who he kept trying to harass onto the show and he'd never come on the show. He's like, tell you what, I'm going to put up the sign and every day you don't come on the show, I'm going to turn over one of the things and your phone number's on here. And so he turns over like the first 3 and it's like his area code. And then they reveal that their studio's in Times Square. And so they show an outside view and you can just see the back of the sign and all of the phone number is there. I can't remember who the guy was, but he's like, he just never wanted to come on the show. And so they gave out his cell phone number. It was pretty funny.
That's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I like celebrities giving out other celebrities' phone numbers just to be mean.
Yeah. That's quality.
There was some other skit group. I can't remember what they were doing, but one of them to just prank his buddy because they had like a YouTube channel. Just post the guy's cell phone number on their like YouTube page under their comments, and so his phone just starts ringing nonstop. He literally can't even hang up to like call somebody because his phone is instantly being rung by all these different numbers. And so he's like, he's trying to get onto his cell phone carrier, but like, I need you to change my number. And so they finally he gets a phone call out finally to get a hold. He's on the phone with them for like 30 minutes, explains what happens. Like, somebody leaked my info. I need you to change my number. And so they're telling him his new phone number over the phone. He's writing it down. The guy's just posting it on Facebook as he's writing it down.
Oh my God.
And he does it like 3 consecutive times. He's like, why is it still ringing? He's just, all of his friends are in the background laughing.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right. So, to our main topic today. Zach, you played in the TTS League. Is that correct?
That is correct. I can't.
Hell yeah. 1 for 1. All right. We're going to start getting harder now. The questions are going to get harder. All right. So let's start off with when did this league start?
The main portion of the league started in beginning of September and ran through this previous Saturday.
Nice.
So September to beginning of December?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
How often do they go? Is it like 2 or 3 a year?
I think it's about 3 a year.
It's exactly 3. They publish them ahead of time so people can plan their vacations around them and whatnot.
So if you are wanting to sign up for the league, where can you do so?
There is a TTS Discord. That one's really great. That has a lot of information on it. Not sure who's in charge of that now. I think it's Carl. He's on Discord in a bunch of different groups as well.
It's called Marvel Crisis Protocol for TTS, I believe is the Discord channel. So if you're looking to jump in, that's where you'd find it. All right. So Parker, why don't you start up with the questions?
Awesome. So Zach, you are now our TTS expert. Aaron's been kicked off because he doesn't do TTS anymore. He only gets ready for Path of Exile. So I have some basic questions. We'll start there. It'll get harder. How many TTS leagues have you done so far?
I think this is my 4th league. I did 2 last year and then 2 the previous year, but I skipped 1 in the middle of this year.
Nice. So obviously this is your best performance, I'm guessing, right? Because you haven't had John before. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to talk about how far you went on this one. But what was your previous best? How far did you get in the previous ones?
I think I'd gone 4 and 2 in 2 of the previous ones. And so to move on to the top cuts, you've got to go 5 and 1 and have enough VPs. But went 4 and 2 in 2 of them, and those were good.
So, okay. So you have to have minimum 5-1, and then some VPs as a tiebreaker. Is that how they roll it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because not all the 5 and 1s make cuts.
I believe they all make cuts, but then they have to do a play-in round to make it to an even 32. So you make it, and then this one technically had 36, I think. So they had to cut out. They did a play-in round to cut out 4 people.
So they basically play Swiss with double elimination, and then have a play-in bracket.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
That's cool.
So, do you happen to know how many people were in the full league with you when it started, or do they?
So the West League I think had 65, and then all of these together had about 340.
Wow. So the whole pool was about 340, and then they're cutting to top 32 or 36, like you said.
Yeah, there's 5 leagues, and so it's the the 6-0 from each of them, and then all the 5-1s, and then they do the top cuts from there.
Wow, that's an awesome pool, man. That is fantastic. So how did you do in the preliminary for this league that just finished up?
So I went 5-1. I was 5-0 and then lost the last round to a guy playing Steve One Avengers, very similar to some Parker reserve member lists that have existed in the past.
Okay.
So
So you saw that one before, but it's still got
I have seen that one. It's got me. Shang-Chi got me.
Oh.
Had an interesting experience in that 4 of my 6 games were either against Namor, Shield, or Steve One Avengers, and so it was a weird just playing kind of the same lists, which is interesting given how many people are in those.
Do they?
Yeah,
all
I find the Steve part really surprising. Namor I would expect, but the Steve part seems odd. Were they playing Namor with Steve?
No, Jeremiah England was playing like a pretty traditional Steve One list.
Yeah, he loves Steve One.
Yeah,
so that's just an outlier.
And then the guy I lost to last was also playing kind of a normal one, but he had some kind of newer models in it, like Shang-Chi was in there, and I think he did have Namor in there also.
Okay.
So they're more of a like beat 'em up Steve, just kind of like come up and at you and come over the top with power. That's cool. So you got to play against a lot of. You said it was specifically Shield.
Yeah, there was 2. I played 2 Shield teams that were playing the Invaders leadership with Namor.
Oh wow.
Clearly, you beat them. Any takeaways from that matchup?
One of them, he played very aggressively, and so I played pretty much the same Wakanda list in the main event, and then into the finals as well. So one of them, he went really aggressive too, and so I was able to hold King T'Challa back, and go up and do a big vibranium spear into Namor and one-shot him in round 1, and then still have priority in round 2 and immediately KO him. So his leader effectively did a charge and a second attack and then died. So that was a pretty big swing for the first activation in round 2.
Wow.
Yep.
How I don't know if people at home are going to be very familiar. Can you talk about your list a little bit?
I can. So I was running a pure Wakanda list, or I guess only Wakanda. I ran M'Baku as leader in all of them. The 5 Wakandas I had were M'Baku, original Black Panther, King T'Challa, Shuri, and Okoye. And then I think I might have changed the list once or twice, but overall had Red Skull 2, Zemo, Namor, Hulk, and Thanos with space and mind gems as splashes. I was really just going for a lot of like tempo attrition, so I played M'Baku and King T'Challa in every game. I fit Red Skull 2 into just about every game, and then would kind of fit in Shuri and Okoye as I needed. I had Thanos in the list, but I can be proud of myself, I think, that I never played Thanos in any of the games. And I had Hulk in there to be 3 wide at 15, because I know you guys have had some conversations about that, and Aaron and I have talked about that a lot at the store, too, that you have to have a plan for that. So that's what Hulk was in there for.
And you never had to execute that plan?
I had to do that plan once, playing into Inhumans with Thor 2.
Okay. And you went 3 wide with your 2 standards and Hulk and prevailed?
Yes.
Okay. Congrats.
He was also 3 wide, but
yep,
worked out.
Were you glad that you had the 3 wide option versus being forced to go 4 wide?
I was. Between Black Bolt and Thor, I think that would have been pretty painful for me, of him being able to activate one of those 2 and being able to funnel that power to Thor. I think I had priority in that game, and so that would have been really tough for me to overcome, I think, had I been 4 wide instead.
I had a question here.
No.
I had a list of my interview questions here. This one actually was written by Aaron. Quote, "The fuck is Red Skull 2 in your list for?" Tell me more about Red Skull 2 as an option.
Red Skull 2 was in there. I originally actually had Reality Corvus. I was trying to go with people who could kind of just kill something that was right in front of it, and 5 was a threat level I was looking for. And in some of the early games that I played, kind of testing out this list some, I was kind of struggling to keep up with points. If it was anything like on a D, or even sitting someone back on a Gamma or a Meteor, or a Gamma or a Demon. Sorry. So having his Hydra Troopers being able to just kind of sit, float around, and score some points and keep me in that was really beneficial. And then really trying to use him and T'Challa on opposite sides to punish the midline. So if anybody ever ran up and thought they were safe on one side, Red Skull 2 might have been sitting on the other side, ready to punch someone immediately.
Okay, you are a huge fan of your T'Challa 2, and what I want to know, in my experience playing against him, and I haven't got to play with him yet, but I am ready to play him in something like Avengers Actually Sam 1, because I feel like every time I played against him, he has such a glass jaw. Whenever I want to remove him, I just do. So how are you keeping him alive so that he gets a lot of work done? Because he definitely can, but how are you helping him stay alive long enough to do that?
Yeah, that was definitely something I ran into, that he can't have a glass jaw, and if someone just focuses, he doesn't really have any defensive tech or anything special. He just kind of has a bucket of health and 4 defenses. So in the games that I was bringing Okoye, she was normally pocketed next to him more so than she was M'Baku or Red Skull, to have a nice little bodyguard. And I think I played Sacrifice quite a bit in my games as well. But the really key thing for me, honestly, was just trying to, in every game, protect priority as best as I could, as long as I could. And so whatever the threat was to him, it was just trying to remove that first, honestly.
Awesome. No, there are lots of options in the 5 slot that can do damage similarly, not exactly like he does, but similarly. What do you like about like Wakanda and him specifically? What do you feel like they can do that other, high damage 5 threats can do in the game right now? Because you said you played him a lot, like you had options to switch, right? You can switch early, like Swiss, you can still switch, but you didn't switch, and then you brought him right into finals. So you obviously were convinced. What about him as a 5 threat, maybe specifically in Wakanda as a 5 threat, were you really excited about over some other options?
Yeah, I think 2 of the key pieces were the tactics cards. I think when you've got a model who can attack that efficiently, even if he has already done the bound, having a 6 dice energy builder with 2 rerolls can do quite a lot of damage. So getting a really cheap extra attack out of Wakanda Forever. I had a really impactful game with him once where I played Jabari Chieftain, and so that really juiced up his dice as well. I'm already playing M'Baku, so it was like this is an opportunity to just really juice up T'Challa even more. So I think it was just, that home affiliation for him, giving him a couple tactics cards that give him more attacks, give him more opportunities to do stuff. I thought about him and Steve 1 as well, getting a little bit of a cheaper bound or maybe Avengers Assemble to help him on turn 1, but I just liked Wakanda giving him a couple different ways to get some more dice or more attacks out.
Okay, I had another question kind of while we're on the subject of Wakanda and list building. Switching a little bit more to tactics side, I feel like a lot of people saw, with advanced R&D getting switched out, and as soon as it did, people just kind of dropped it in the way that they get averted. People just get aversions to nerfs. Did you feel like Wakanda really lost something with advanced R&D, and you were kind of trying to play out of that hole, or you didn't notice? You were just playing Wakanda. Wakanda's still great. How do you feel about advanced R&D changing the way they play?
So I think the way a lot of the lists were playing, it did have a huge impact on the turn 1 scenario plays that they were making, because I think that was a lot of the spirit of Wakanda. When I was trying to do it originally with that, I actually felt like I was limiting myself some, because I was wanting to run and go out there and fight, but when I've got a lineup so tightly compressed together to get Spirit of Wakanda off, it was harder to fight on the D-shaped maps or on Scoundrels or even the Bs, because your team has to be just so centralized. So the way that I wanted to play Wakanda, it was actually fine for me to lose that, and I wasn't having to contain myself into, well, I have to do this every time. And then also just getting access to have more flexibility with tactics cards, I think was a big benefit to not being stuck in that plan.
Yeah, functionally you're getting 2 tactics and one of them restricted, right? So it's not like you're getting nothing for not relying upon it. Was Spirit in your 10?
It was in my 10. I know Aaron's played with it some too, outside of the advanced R&D jank, and I did still find it pretty useful. I think on both games that I played on Gamma, I had it in there. I know on one of them I used it to wipe a stagger off Hulk, and so that was pretty nice. And I think one of the others I used it to wipe shock off of T'Challa and incinerate off of Hulk, and so it was really nice just to be able to wipe off some conditions that were otherwise would have been a problem.
I was going to say, right now, you happen to play against none of them, but like Apocalypse is running wild right now. There's a lot of people trying to play him. There's a lot of affiliations stacking a lot of conditions. That is cool. I never saw it used for a second bullet, but it makes a lot of sense. Is one more way to cleanse a bunch of conditions off outside of like a leadership that does it. That's cool. Did you take it because of that, or did you just find that was the best use in the moment? Was it like, I'm taking this because I'm excited to remove conditions, or did you just bring it interested in using it at some point?
Was more interested in using it and kind of the flexibility that the card has is, when you're playing on Gamma and you're 3 wide, your models are going to be pretty tightly together. And so the opportunity to hand out 4 power, heal 4 wounds, or maybe remove conditions, I really liked the flexibility the card gave. And some of the cards that I had in my list were character specific. And so it was also kind of there wasn't necessarily a lot of other options to take either.
You intimated that you got to play it a little bit, like your choice to switch off of Corvus Glaive into Red Skull 2. How much practice did you play with this list before the league started? Or was the league your litmus test? You're playing with it as is, and we'll see how it goes as we go.
So I'd actually started playing a pretty similar version of this list in the early part of the year, like February or March-ish, and that's when I had Corvus and was using advanced R&D to really juice up his power to try and get off a big spender counting blanks like at the top of turn 2. And so that was okay, but it just felt like a lot of tactics expense, and I wasn't trying to do the scenario plan, so it wasn't the most effective use of those 2 cards together. So I kind of stepped away from it a little bit, and then when they released the newest Black Panther and had Wisdom of the Ancestors, that kind of excited me again for the fact that every T'Challa got to play that, because I did feel like there were times that the only attacks King T'Challa struggled with was he would suddenly roll 4 skulls, and so when you have Wisdom of the Ancestors as a back pocket when this round you need to kill something, being able to play that with a model that always has a ton of power does really well.
While we're on the topic of tactics cards, how long did you consider Strength and Cunning for?
King's Command narrowly didn't make it in. I thought about putting Trial by Combat in as a 10th just to be funny for finals, but then when they said it was going to be locked the whole time, I'm like, okay, I probably should have a real card that I could use.
So no Strength and Cunning?
No Strength and Cunning. Sadly, no Killmonger Usurper, and I'm sad about that one.
I mean, this card throws people. It advances other models. I don't know what it doesn't do, but apparently it's not good enough for Zach.
For the next one, for the next TTS finals.
Next one. Yeah. So okay. You did just kind of mention it. So for list lock, is it always list locked in the finals? Is it list locked from the normal to the finals, like the whole time?
No, each finals they allow the participants to vote on it, and so traditionally, I think the finals have also been open. I think, Aaron, you played in a couple where it was open and changed each week, but for this one, we elected to have lists locked the whole time, which definitely had an impact on a couple models that I was, maybe rotating in or out, or a couple of tactic slots depending on what my opponent played. And so there were some choices that I definitely made that, trying to get a little bit more of an all-rounded list to be able to play into anything.
Another question about your list. In hindsight, would you have made any alterations to it before you list locked?
I think I might have considered someone different for the slot that I had for Namor. Some of that is because of my affinity for Red Skull 2, that I probably reached for him too quickly as the first Splash 5. But Namor was one that didn't make the table for me in any of the finals games. And as I looked at it afterwards, trying to run a little bit of a taller list, being 4 wide at 17, but I had a gap actually at 18 threat that I couldn't be 4 wide, and so I think Namor had the opportunity that he could have been original Killmonger, and given me a little bit more punching power and made it easier to still keep the taller list archetype. at 18 threat. But otherwise, I think I was happy. Hulk also was originally Thor 2, and I wavered back and forth on that some. Honestly, the reason it was Hulk was I was just playing this list in person some as well, and don't have Thor 2 either, and so I didn't want to borrow my brother's because he was using it. So I just ended up playing Hulk with it a few times and was like, this is still good, and so I just stuck with Hulk instead. But I think Thor 2 would be a better choice there.
Okay. I know we had talked in person a little bit about you regretting taking Thanos. Do you still regret taking Thanos? Do you wish you had done something else?
So I never played Thanos. I thought about it. There was a couple games, and Aaron and I had some conversations about the ability to go 3 wide at 17 and the killing potential you can have. Thanos was in there more of, I felt pretty comfortable about the other 9 models I had overall, and it was when the lists are locked for every week, kind of what's something that I can have in my back pocket as a break glass in case of emergency, and Thanos is kind of what spit out. And so again, I'm happy I never had to break him out and play him, but I do know from talking after with a couple of my opponents that seeing Thanos in the list made them change their mind about what they were playing, and so that was good enough as a 10th slot for me.
Best 10th model ever.
I hate that.
I hate
Don't
it
blame
too,
me.
honestly.
It's better than it used to be. It used to be the best second affiliation was a 3-star.
I know.
Like,
It is
so
better.
dumb.
I'm not saying it's worse. I'm just saying I don't like that you get an advantage for using one of your slots. But I know of course it makes. I know you mean having a strategy that affects the way your opponent plays is a good idea, Parker.
Yeah.
Like I get it, but
No,
Parker,
I'm with
Did you ever play in the true OG Black Order days?
yes, I remember.
Okay.
I remember when
I thought
everybody
you came
had
in
7
after.
models. I remember when everybody had 7 models and then 3 Black Order models. That was there.
Well, that was still true for a while, but like before the nerf, it was almost unbeatable. It was so dumb.
Yeah, I played back then because I played back when Wakanda was the only expansion. Back when Wakanda
So I agree
was-
with you, Parker, that I hate that a model like that exists where even though going into every game there was a 99% chance I was not going to play him, that it changed the way that my opponents built their list. And so the flexibility that Thanos has is still so dumb, and the impact he has on a game that he's never on the table for. I didn't like that, but I had to do it. So
he did. What do you think? Since you got to talk to your opponents about it, what did it force them to do? What did you see them do in response to it? What were they choosing that you could take advantage of?
I know there was one opponent in particular who I think was going to bring Hulk in our game, but he was really concerned. I had a Mind and Space Thanos, but he was very concerned that the moment Hulk moved up, that Thanos was just going to push him, Space Mind Stone, Cosmic Portal him, out into nowhere, and so he ended up going with like a 4 threat and a 2 threat instead, and so that just left a lot more squishy targets for T'Challa and Red Skull instead. So that was something where he was like, I was very sure you were going to take Thanos, and I needed, to go as wide as I could and try and have different plans for it.
He blinked, and that's how you lose sometimes. Now I have a question. We this is kind of an early question, but I feel like we're circling this the whole time. Why Wakanda? Because it does, Wakanda's always up there in this one of the bubble factions. I feel like they were always like, yes, they can't be bad. They have too many weapons. But why Wakanda for this league? You said you dropped, you stepped away from them for a while. Why'd you come back? Was it just the one card, the I'm blanking on T'Challa's card now.
Wisdom of the Ancestors.
Well, yeah, was it just Wisdom? You're like, that card, I want to play that bad, or was it something else?
So some of it I'd played Brotherhood a lot this year and was just kind of burned out a little bit on playing Mystique Brotherhood for 50 games or something, and wanted to pivot back, and had played this list some at the beginning of the year and just wanted to pick it back up and see if it still had some legs to it. I really do enjoy King T'Challa quite a bit. Like, he's probably one of my favorite models. He just wants to go run and blow something up, and he's pretty good at that. And so I wanted to come back to that. And I think M'Baku as well. M'Baku sometimes can just, put a whole game on his shoulders and throw 3 people and do big attacks. And they just kind of have some big explosive dice that I think could be fun. So that was what I was wanting to explore some more is if they really had enough juice. I was never really interested in the scenario style that most people played them with. I saw kind of the lens of being able to go with attrition with King T'Challa and M'Baku and maybe Killmonger, although he didn't make it, and kind of go with a more fighty focused list.
Okay, now this is interesting because I feel like M'Baku does, like you said, he has a really high ceiling, but his floor is pretty low for attrition compared to someone like even the new Killmonger, and the new Killmonger specifically, helps with more dice, more killy. So why not new Killmonger in as your leader?
Play tested him some. It was really about the ceiling play. I think M'Baku's ceiling was a lot more. I felt like I had a solid floor with King T'Challa and with some control, maybe with Shuri and with some other punching with Red Skull or Zemo. And so I felt like I had a lot of the very solid floor. And so it was more about taking a ceiling play of, M'Baku can throw Hulk into another character and then move and make another attack and throw a terrain piece. And so I was going more for the ceiling play. And actually talking some with Ryan Jarvis, one of our locals too, he had talked about how he was using M'Baku as just kind of run downhill and let people juice him up with power and then just throw spenders as often as you can. And it seemed like M'Baku has a lot of success when he can do that.
Okay. I feel like the Killmonger 2 has the ability to turn on models specifically like Zemo, because you give him an extra dice with his leadership and he gets to reroll that dice. Red Skull 2, you give him an extra dice with leadership and he gets to use that blank on that dice. Like, he does give those models specifically extra value, but you were looking for a better 4 threat that just happened to have a leadership rather than a leadership that was going to push the models that you were playing.
Right, because I would agree with you. I think the extra dice up front for him is more valuable on Zemo, Red Skull 2, original Black Panther, to an extent King T'Challa. Whereas in M'Baku's dice mod, there's times it just doesn't come up. And I can tell you in all the games that I played, I think the portion of M'Baku's leadership about not getting pushed came up 2 times. Otherwise, it just didn't ever really happen. But I do think Usurper has some more play than people think, and he's one I still want to play test with some more. In my mind, I think there's some scenarios, maybe into other attrition-focused lists, where he might be a better choice than M'Baku, because he also has a strike back and a pounce, and so I think he might have some play. I'm just trying to still figure out where the scenario is for that.
That's interesting.
How often was M'Baku's size 4 throw on the spender relevant? Because that's, quite frankly, what Killmonger does not have.
It being size 4 specifically, not super relevant. Like, he did throw Hulk twice in one game. I think he threw Rhino in my finals game, so it came up a couple times. But the throw, no matter who I was attacking, it was always more useful than just Killmonger having a pounce, because it's before damage, it's guaranteed, it's a medium throw. It was always really useful to be able to do that. I think the semifinal game, he threw Lizard into Black Cat and killed her with that. And so it was very useful to have that on there. And the Avalanche trigger is also fantastic.
Yeah, I've been a big M'Baku fan. I'm really glad you were able to see a lot of success with him. I think Parker's right. I think the floor is still there. And if you're able to avoid that, then grats.
I also really appreciated M'Baku's builder, and I don't think I realized this going into it, that the push on his builder was sizeless as well. And so that was nice also, that it wasn't, it's only a size, original Black Panther, it's size 3 or less. It was actually nice to have M'Baku do that. I do think he pushed Hulk around in that same game as well.
I know just the last cast, I don't know if you got to listen to last week's cast, but Brandon went on quite the rant on M'Baku's ceiling and just how
he does.
It's just like, I could see somebody looking across the table, or rather looking, on the internet while they're playing on TTS and being like, what? His card has what? His card has what?
Well,
what
yeah, I mean,
does
it's
this
just
card have?
A lot of stuff that you don't see anymore. It's like, here, let's just go through his card real quick. So the Pursuit is whatever, like, it's a good trigger. Push on the crit is it's a push away, and he's exactly like you said, it's sizeless. Also, it's a range 3 attack, which doesn't make a lot of sense for a melee attack. So he's got +1 range on his regular attack. Then he's also got a push away any size. Like, they just went through the game and cleaned up the fact that people have any size pushes, and then they just printed another one. And then we go to his fucking spender, which is crazy. It's a auto throw up to size 4. There's very few attacks in the game that do that, even for 4 power. Like, even fucking Hulk's attack doesn't auto throw. It's on a wild. And so his is automatic. It's also throw medium. It's also any direction, not away. And so there's like, we're already at like 4 things. Then like Avalanche being a move and an extra attack is nuts. It's already an 8-die fucking spender. And it's just like, and then it's just more and more stuff. And all
also,
this
Avalanche
inconsistent with the other game design.
Also, Avalanche can like key off of his own leadership. So if he's
His own
playing his own
leadership,
leadership,
yeah.
it goes
wild
off.
on
Yeah.
8 dice. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, even his
Usually
passives
a
as
wow.
well. The game into the Inhumans player who was running Thor 2, I used M'Baku to just body block him being able to pounce into Hulk because
Yep.
he doesn't take collision damage and he can't be pushed by size 3. So Thor can't do his builder and push him out of the way.
Right.
He has almost no way
He's
to
a-
displace M'Baku. So it was just irritating for him to be like, this guy's just standing in the way.
The fact that he is immune to like half the board control in the game for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And no, at least thematic reason. They just decided it. And then also he's immune to collisions with characters. It's just a lot of stuff. Then also he's immune to stun. Why?
I mean,
Like it's like they just decided that he needed more stuff. Like
If
whatever.
they would have just taken the words M'Baku and his character off the card and just replaced it with something like Abomination, I'd have been like, yeah, that makes sense. like a giant meaty character who's supposed to like not move and take damage and hit you back. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's just an example of like how like as games continue, they feel like they find, I guess, a better spot where a model of a certain point value should be. And so they're moving the bar of where they think 4-pointers should be. I would argue they're still moving that bar up and up and up. And it's not true, I think, across the whole game. It's specifically 4-pointers I don't think they've ever really landed in a good spot for. And it's just really frustrating when models that you emotionally are attached to thematically that come out, and then they're just completely obsoleted by new models that come out that have no reason that they're better. Like, you look in the game, you're like, why no Venom could take M'Baku apart in a second if they were to ever fight? But M'Baku was printed later, so he's a better model in the game. You're like, what the fuck? Like, it's just really frustrating.
Yep.
So
Anyway.
So I guess what's funny is we all agree M'Baku is top notch, but Zach, you got to show everyone on TTS just how strong, right? Was anybody I'm guessing you got to talk a little bit, table talk afterwards the game. Did anybody sit there and go, well, that's not what I expected. I did not expect somebody to throw down M'Baku, Black Panther 2, Wakanda. And do you think the fact that you're playing top-notch models that people don't see very often was something that impacted your game? Did you hear anybody giving you feedback like that?
I actually heard that a lot in a lot of the games of
Okay.
people, and King
Wow,
T'Challa
okay.
in particular, that people hadn't really played against him. They were kind of like, wait, what's his rules? How does he do? And so there was a lot of talk about him, and then M'Baku as well. I actually had one game that was kind of exactly like what Brandon's joked about, where M'Baku did a spender, threw someone into someone, got the trigger, moved, did an attack, dealt 3 damage, got enough power for another spender, did that, and like M'Baku himself dazed 3 models and killed some grunts. And
they're
like,
what's giving you extra actions?
I was like, all right, now I'm going to do a terrain throw. And they're like, he just threw people twice. And I'm like, yeah, that was attacks though. And they were like, this guy, his exact wording was, this guy's done 6 fucking things this turn. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I made,
that's
I made
accurate.
3 attacks, I moved twice, and I threw 3 things. That's normal.
I
you
mean,
do
his ceiling is fucking
4-pointers.
nuts.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
do 4 attacks, 2 throws, and a terrain throw.
Yeah. And
Yep.
10 power sounds like a lot to do everything, but there's 2 builders mixed in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't just write that off, not to mention he's still got his leadership in there. So like one of those attacks is kicking in extra bonuses. And not to mention you're playing literally the faction known for friendly rerolls, and so
Yep.
sure he can be back there pumping more dice through his stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Zach, I have a question.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say yes to Parker's question. I think M'Baku and T'Challa really caught some people off guard. I think I got a couple compliments about, they were impressed with the way that I had used Red Skull 2 and how that leadership helped him as well to just push even more damage over the top. And so I think there were some people that were more surprised to see like a very attrition focused list.
Okay, so I have my question here is obviously congrats on everything you accomplished. I still think your list, taking you out of the equation, should not have gone 10-1. I think there are too many variables to that list. But you pulled it off surprisingly well. Obviously, if M'Baku just rolls like a god every turn, you're going to win every game. How many games did you not get that ceiling, like where you actually had to play to your outs? And how did those games go versus the I just walked up and murdered the world?
So I would say 3 or 4 of them went that way, where it was more about playing to the outs and being cautious and using, M'Baku more of a way of, throwing Hulk away or throwing an important model away, not necessarily going for big damage explosions into people, but more about displacing them to make it harder for them to have impactful activations. There was also a couple games where using King T'Challa's Spender more just to reposition him and less about, to get to a more important model was important. Or there was one game in particular that the model with the biggest impact was King T'Challa, and it was using his builder just to pull people off of points. And so there was times that I had to pivot away from just trying to blow everything up and focus more on like, how can I use some of the tools that I have to displace this to kind of stop the bleeding on scoring. Because there was definitely a few games that I got behind pretty significantly on points and kind of had to claw back into it with some of the control that these models can pivot to instead.
I really think that right there delineates the difference between a TTS champion and a not.
Thank you.
That ability, knowing your models and knowing when to, choose A versus B, and a healthy dose of luck, and that combination, I think, again, from just watching a couple of your games and being on the outside, that's my takeaway. It was your ability to know your models and when to use them.
Thank you. I definitely think luck had a factor in it too, in these dice, and we're playing a dice game. I felt like I was trying to find models like Red Skull and T'Challa that, have above the curve dice math and the rerolls that they have or the large attack pools they can have, but it absolutely still comes down to having to roll dice, and they get to roll defense dice too, and there was times that didn't work, and so I had to make sure that I still had an idea of what alternatives there were besides just running my head into the wall again.
Yeah, I still can't believe you played Red Skull 2 as much as you did, and were successful with it. Parker gave my question short shrift, but yeah, I just.
So why do you think Red Skull 2 is just a bad model now, or I don't understand what your hatred is?
Yeah, for the most part, I think there are too many answers to people who do pick your type of damage, or just control him out of the game if you're not playing a leadership or synergistic models that are going to help him with his mobility. And Zach did none of that. Like, he's like, nope, I'm going to walk toward you and I'm going to roll dice and kill you. And this model does that well. And I absolutely concur. But Zach sitting here as a CTS champion, and I'm not. So as much as I want to be flabbergasted that he, not that he did it with Wakanda, for everything we talked about, that's great. But Red Skull 2 still blows my mind. Zach, what's your counter to that?
Technically, M'Baku's leadership does help Red Skull with his mobility.
It helped a little bit. There was I think one of the times that it came up was with him getting pushed by like Sam, and it actually mattered that he didn't get pushed.
Well, no, so that's one of it, like the contest thing, but also just his offensive part of his leadership is if you roll wild, you can turn one to a hit. That triggers his blitz advance. Mm-hmm. Like, I know it's minor, but like it means it's more likely to happen. And there's a lot of times I failed to hit the advance when I really needed it to get in range of another attack. But so it's like a little thing, but it's not like Red Skull's made of paper if he's not got the extra dice. Like, I do not believe in defense dice hardly at all. And obviously he's not the toughest 5-pointer by a long shot. But if you just like, oh no, I'm 2 defense dice versus 5 defense dice, like, at half the time, that's the same number. And like, it just doesn't bother me so much.
I do agree with Aaron, though. There are lots of 5-pointers in the game that are point-and-click kill stuff. And even more that love to walk twice and then stand and turret, right? So,
sure.
What I would like to know, Zach. You did mention that you like that he had the grunt, so he could help you out a little bit. Make your scenario game a little bit more efficient. Was that the only tiebreaker, or was there something else that Red Skull gave your list that you were, more excited than any generic, turret?
Right. So first, I would say Aaron's right that there are a lot of counters to him, and then I think Red Skull was one of the models I had to be the most careful with during deployment and making sure that I didn't just put him in a bad scenario that he was going to die immediately. If there was a Psylocke or a Red Skull 3 on the other side, it's like, let's wait till they're down and kind of see the position they're going to get in so that he doesn't just get steamrolled immediately. That didn't work every game, but that was the general idea I went with, was trying to see if they had a character that could just delete him and hoping that I could deploy him after. The grunts were a key thing for me. Running meteors and intrusions, they're both they're phenomenal on both of those. Getting to flip for free and not really care if they take the damage on the meteor. And then intrusions, they're got to be one of the most annoying things you can deal with, is a grunt that's worth nothing that can just pop through those to where your healthy model is, or where you don't have one at the end of it, and steal a VP from you. But I would say that there definitely was opportunities. One that comes to mind for me is Cable. I would say overall the list did not have a lot of terrain throws. And so there was times where it was kind of hoping my opponent didn't bring a lot of terrain throws either, or that there was maybe an opportunity with that terrain if I had Cable instead to maybe push even more damage output out. But the grunts were a really helpful thing for me with some of the crises I was playing. And to Brandon's point as well, the leadership helped make that blitz trigger a lot, happen a lot more frequently, to be able to get back onto a point if he'd been displaced, or maybe set up another target.
And maybe if you have got him in the dispersion field option, he's much harder to move. It's really just throws that get him. So
yeah.
You're talking about only getting thrown. If that's the case, you can just put the grunts directly behind him. So then they have to kill the grunts before they can throw you away. And so it can be hard to displace him. The only reason I brought it up, though, is because I remember the days when, Red Skull 2 was considered the best 5-pointer in the game by far. And so it's just, if he is obsolete, the game has passed most of the game by. And so...
Oh, I don't think he's obsolete, but I think Aaron's point that he operates best when you can be proactive with his movement is very big for him.
I definitely agree with that.
No, I just think he needs to be not an every game piece.
I probably played him more than I should have. I think there's times I would have been better suited playing Namor in the same slot, and having Namor's Spender have a lot more flexibility on it, or Namor being able to chase models down or throw out staggers. There was definitely a few games that Red Skull was not a key piece of what I had, and might have fallen over too quickly, or just not had the same level of impact that Namor, or again maybe Cable, if Cable had been in the list instead, I think could have been more successful with.
There is one thing about Red Skull, after having played him a lot in a lot of different affiliations, that I've noticed is that he doesn't have taunt, but he kind of has taunt, because people feel like they need to attack him because he's so good at just turning his health into damage, and he's so consistent with his damage. I think by playing Red Skull, King T'Challa probably lived a little bit longer.
Yes.
Because people feel like they had to kill Red Skull, whereas they go, well, I don't have to kill King T'Challa. Actually, you kind of do, because he might be doing more damage, especially in Wakanda. But people felt like Red Skull was the target because he's got the big red head. You got to kill him.
Well, and
do you feel like they chose Red Skull instead of T'Challa if they had the choice?
I do, and I think another factor was the fact that T'Challa has his Royal Rebuke, and so it was, well, your character may only have 1 health or 2 health left, and so if you make this attack and you don't kill T'Challa, he might immediately daze you during your turn. And so if there was opportunities where you could go into Red Skull where there's not really a punishment for that not going well for you, then that was a choice that people seem to make more. Or again, in some of the games, the grunts were an annoying factor for them, and so they wanted to kill him as soon as they could to get the grunts out of the way, so that it stemmed my scoring as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
T'Challa does get a power off of damage on the grunts too, right?
Yep.
So you were you were being fed by having more models on the board that people feel like they had to deal with.
Yeah,
So in a way, you're just much better at this game than Aaron because you saw something that
Well, I saw something
he
too
did.
where the grunts are such an easy target and they are so annoying, and people aren't used to T'Challa. To be quite honest, that the grunts were bait in a lot of games where they would just run up to the midline, like the middle meteor, and flip it. And if you want to shoot and kill them, like I want you to do that too. So I had a game where someone did that and had to double tap them. And so then T'Challa did his move and did a bound onto their meteor and killed Iron Man, I think, who had just like only moved twice to his home meteor, and that was it. And they're like, "What? What just happened?" Like, well, you
And then you
took the
overflipped their
bait.
meteor,
I did
and you're
overflip
like,
their
oh
meteor.
my god.
And so it was like,
Yeah.
you took the bait, you shot the dudes, and you shouldn't have shot the dudes. And I think by the time I played my 2 Hellfire games, those people had either heard about it or realized it, and all of a sudden there was a lot less shooting going on in the first turn.
Yeah, I think there's absolutely something to be said by the idea, like, if you make all your characters really, really hard to kill, and then you put King T'Challa on the board, he's going to die, right?
Mhm.
So you make some more. If you put other glass cannons, though, now you have to choose which glass cannon, and to your point, if you make some of them non-consequential, like the grunts, even more better, right? So now you're going to get a lot of time because your opponent's spending those actions not hurting T'Challa. Because that's how we started, the whole conversation because I feel like every time I've played against him, I just put him down in the dirt, and he kind of felt like a bitch. But
You've
I'm
got to
glad
have
that you were able to find
sacrifice or a bodyguard or something there to help him, because anyone who wants to focus him, I think, can just bulldoze him if they want to.
So you played against a lot of affiliations, at least in the prelims. This is actually a question that I had. A lot of the your first 6 rounds were a lot of like hardcore attrition up and at them, and then in the semifinals and the finals, at least, you're playing against Hellfire Club, which, correct me if I'm wrong, we're playing more scenario bent, not a fighty Hellfire. So, did you felt like did you feel, and you already talked about how you feel like your list doesn't have to change very many models to pivot. Did you pivot away from Red Skull, knowing that he wasn't going to try to kill your stuff, or did you continue to press that button in your semifinals and finals?
Continue to press that button because of the grunts, and I think both of those I pulled D maps. The first one was Extremis, and so they got to help heal up M'Baku for free. The second one being Cosmic Invasion, like having them being able to sit back, I felt like gave me the opportunity to not fall behind on score, but still be able to push the fights on the side D points, compared to some other attrition lists that need to sit back a Bullseye or some other 2 threat, just to make sure they don't fall behind. So it's kind of a cheap way to do that. So I still went with Red Skull. In the finals game, I don't know that he really had a big impact besides he was scary and sitting on a point, and he was someone that he couldn't. He kind of conceded a point to me for a little bit because he was, I think, aptly concerned that Amato was going to run over there, stand next to Red Skull, and probably die. And so that was what I went with. But I do think he could have been controlled off the board. And I think I was fortunate that he wasn't too much in either of those games.
I don't remember your semifinal game, but the finals game, you made one decision that won you the game, and it was when you picked your extracts.
Yeah, I went with that for both of them.
Or refute that statement.
I concur. I think it was also nice that I pulled alien ships, which I would say is probably actively bad for Hellfire and their uber surplus of power. The reason I wanted my extracts was I felt like I could fight pretty well on the D maps, which they both had the same secures. They had the 2Ds and scoundrels. So I felt like with the grunts that I could keep them back, keep the scoring at a fine pace, but still fight some. And I'll say, and not in any negative way towards either of those opponents, they were both fantastic guys to play against, made really great plays. I feel like Hellfire in turn 1 is very predictable. And overall throughout the game, they have to end up with everyone holding a point or everyone standing on something. And so knowing that I could force them into that, and then that meant that I got to punch them, was something that I wanted to make to my advantage.
Okay, nice. I just think your decision to lengthen the game by reducing the number of extracts, regardless of where the fight was going to happen, is a decision that strongly benefited you and you were able to analyze that and make the right one. So,
Thank you.
good job.
I felt the same. I didn't want there to both of them. I think had both Fs, and then one had paranoia and the other had senators. And so even if we were going to be playing on Gamma or Demons, there was still going to be the opportunity for 8 to 9 points on the board, and that was going to make the game far too quick for me to be able to punch through all their defensive tech and healing and throws and everything else they had.
Yep, and all they have to do is steal and run away.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
That's awesome. I didn't say it yet on the cast, but I'll say it. I did tell you on the day. Congratulations, man! It is awesome. It is a huge effort to play that hard, that consistently, and get up to the finals, and then take it down. So that's amazing. 300 plus players down to one. Zach, that's awesome. Now, I had a follow-up question. I know when I get done with the tournament, no matter how big, my first thought is, ooh, what am I going to play next? I love the tournaments. Just make me so jazzed to play again. Are you similar? Are you already ready to play something new, or you're like, you know what? I'm going to take a week off. That was hard. What are you excited to play something new? And if you are, what is it?
I am excited to play something new. It's what I've been kind of chipping away at on Thursday nights is the New Mutants, and still trying to see if there's a nugget there. You guys have given me suggestions on Black Bolts and Black Dwarf. I'm not doubling up with Mephisto. That's too much jumping around. That's too many hoops. So New Mutants is what I want to chip away at. I think it still seems like overall we're in a rather attrition-heavy meta. And so one of the ones that I want to try is the newest Black Widow. And maybe using her as something where using New Mutants and extract holders and just trying to play keep away the whole time, because I feel like everybody's just trying to kill everybody right now, and so trying to protect your extracts with models like the Black Widow or Blob is something that I want to try out.
Why did you call her the Black Widow and just Blob? I feel like he was slighted.
Blob and I are best friends.
Oh,
Blob needs played more.
You're on a last name
Me and
skip
Fred.
the basis.
Fred Dukes.
Me and
Okay.
Fred we're buddies. Blob needs played more too. I think that's a great underappreciated model.
I think Blob is amazing.
I love the Blob.
The problem Blob usually has is that when he moves to an extract and picks it up, that he can't then use his it tickles. And so it's really kind of a counter synergy because he wants to pick up the extract and he wants to get attacked. Except on the first turn, which is when he gets attacked the most.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like an unfortunate thing. But with Hellfire Club, you can time it to where, right as he picks it up, you fire off the leadership. And so he's immediately got that power again, and so you're not at all worried about it.
I liked him with Mystique, too, because he got that power refunded back to him,
Mm-hmm.
so he was great.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mystique's already flush with Juggernaut and Toad and lots of people to pick stuff up, so I wasn't always running to Blob for the first one.
Yeah. So question for the League. Was there anything you were considering other than Wakanda? Was it just the whole time when you were signing up, you're like, I'm playing Wakanda in this? Or did you think about a different affiliation?
I thought about Midnight Suns with iHulk and with some other releases coming up. But I was trying to find a list that I could keep rather consistent throughout it. And, if I had success, then kind of stick with it. And if I had lost, then I think my list would have changed up a lot. But Midnight Suns had some releases kind of throughout the tournament, so I was interested in splashing in the monsters, and that was originally my plan. And then I think around the time they came out, I think I was 4-0, and it was like, all right, I think I should probably just keep trying to win this with Wakanda instead of trying out some random brand new thing.
So I know that in previous leagues, we, being the Kansas City meta, have split into the various brackets so as to avoid fratricide. Why the West this league?
I have two little boys that go to bed and want to stay up too late, and so it's easier just to schedule games. But some of it is that fratricide. I think the first game on TTS that I played CJ, and then I think in the second or third week I played my brother, and so it was like signing up for a virtual league to play with people from all over, and then playing people that I play every week. So I decided
back weeks you played people that live in the same house.
Yes, I played people in the same house. And so it was like, okay, let's go to a different one. West made more sense with the time zone because I normally play, about 9 p.m. Central. And so for them, they're like, yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so combination of avoid friendlies and pick a better time zone that works for you.
Yep.
I figured you were just dodging Aaron.
I stopped playing.
I think I played Kenny in like my first TTS League 2 mid CGR and just he was like, hey, I'm sorry. It was Malekith's CGR Red Skull 2 and Kenny's heyday with that. And it was like, this is great. This is super fun. I think I got tabled on turn 3. What a fun time.
And you came back for more. So
I was going to say.
Yeah. Maybe I'm the idiot.
You walk before you run.
When Parker was talking about Kansas City meta is fairly like attrition focused, it's the equivalent of like walking into an old Western saloon fight. You just push in the door and just everyone's breaking bottles over each other's head, throwing each other through windows, hitting each other with chairs. Like that's just like what it looks like to watch our games.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, you guys play pretty attrition heavy. It's like, these are our balanced lists that you're looking at. Like, when normally we show up, it's like, you just brought unaffiliated Ulik Red Skull 2. Like, what are you doing? Like, he's like, I do what I want. Just runs at them.
I would agree. I feel like our meta in particular, when we go travel places, it's like we're bringing all of the guns and fight. And everybody there is like, I'm going to try out Kingpin or something. We're like, I'm going to punch you in the face a lot. And we're going to do that for a couple games.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it when Aaron brought his unaffiliated pile with Thanos and Zemo to TTS League. That was fun. It was just like people watching, just like attempted murder at like the maximum percentage. Cool. Well, also, congrats, sir. Good job on the league. When Parker was talking about earlier about how it's like to win a big event, like obviously that is what this is. It seems like it's a little bit different because it takes place over such a long period of time. Does it feel very different than winning a normal event?
It does. I think some of the mental strain too of playing 4 or 5 rounds in the same day. You're kind of tired by the last one. This was very different. I'll also say too, I'm very competitive, and so I was prepping for opponents of like, oh, it looks like you're playing. Steve won all the time, so what maybe little tweaks can I make to it or something like that? Whereas when you're in a tournament that's even a 2-day event, there's not really as much opportunity to kind of scout people as much. So this was able to kind of spread it out some more, kind of take some of the mental strain away, and kind of give you some more opportunity if someone is playing the same list all the time, to be able to prepare a little bit, at least in the regular league. When you could change your list, in the finals, it was a little bit more locked in, but it definitely it was different, but I think it was good.
Do you have anyone that you did sort of that weekly preparation with? I don't know if you just kind of shadowboxed yourself or if you had someone that you got a game in with. Anyone you want to shout out for helping you along your 3-month journey?
I definitely want to shout out Josh and CJ, but I want to shout out all you guys too, because I think we would talk through it at the store. You know your opponent ahead of time, and so I know when I was or even our drive back from Omaha, Aaron, we talked about when I was getting ready to play a guy playing Inhumans in Asgard and kind of what opportunities I might have to be, 3 white at 17, or whether it was playing Hulk or playing Thanos. So that was really great to talk through, and I definitely want to. I know my brother and CJ probably got way too many Discord messages as I would fire away with my opponent's lists and go, I think they can do this, 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 and this, and kind of get their feedback on little tweaks for maybe models to change or crises to change.
I helped with emotional preparation by letting your Zemo one-shot all my web warriors, and so that probably got you mentally prepared for what's like to win with Wakanda.
Yeah, I'm really glad when you guys just let me win on Thursdays. It makes me feel really good. Parker brought Spider Foes one days, and King T'Challa killed Carnage in 4 seconds, and then Parker played Judgment after that. I don't think he had a lot of fun playing into King T'Challa.
I learned that I have to hit him, and I couldn't hit him, so I just decided to do something else. Poor guy.
Well, I, for one, actually applaud your use of Red Skull 2. I'm very much anti-Aaron. I know Aaron's going to hate me for this, but I like Red Skull 2, and I think he works well in the list. One thing me and Zach talked about in person at the store was when you're playing him under... what's his name? M'Baku's leadership with like potential Shuri rerolls and stuff too. It's like basically you let go of like 6 dice, and anything that's not a skull does damage. And so like it overwhelms people that have like martial artists and stuff, because even people like Namor can generate a lot of hits, but they're not generally doing like 7-on-7. Like with blanks and blocks basically counting, it's really just you take the skulls out, roll the extra crits, and you're usually hitting the count of dice.
And
So
you're
like,
also
I let go of 6, I hit 6, like your guy's dead.
and you're also not that upset about getting a block because then you're pushing people around too. Like you getting
Well, but you're
stuff
using the
for
leadership
that.
to change the block into a hit, if you choose not to, then yeah,
Right.
or like you're next to Zemo, so you have the Zemo reroll, maybe you've got another reroll from something else. And it's like you're just so consistent that you can just like, oh, is that Psylocke? Well, I don't care if you block 3, you're still dead. And you're like, oh yeah, there's really no way around that.
Yeah, I felt that way too. I felt like there was times too that
Yeah.
you could feel people react to that when he would roll 6-on-6, and it's not a model that they're used to seeing, and understanding that he is very consistent in that dice output. And so when he's rolling 6-on-6 into Shang-Chi, Shang-Chi only has 5 health, and it's great that he counts blanks. But if we're both counting blanks, Red Skull still probably pushes him over pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so that was one in particular that I remember an opponent kind of like pausing after a Red Skull activation because he killed a model, and it was like, well, in the scheme of most attacks, like, yes, that character probably should have survived, but just the consistent output that he has, like that kind of was the expected outcome. It just is weird, again, in relation to some normal attacks, I would say.
Yeah, so like the average blocks with martial artists on 4 dice is only 2.5.
Mhm.
You're averaging like north of 5 hits. Like, yeah, double tapping people generally just kills them.
Yeah.
I have a really important question that I wanted to ask for a long time. What is a Nitro Zeus?
Nitro Zeus is a Transformer, and he's in, I don't remember which
God.
Transformer movie, but when he says his name, it sounds super cool, and so I went with that. That was it.
Oh wait, it sounds
Oh
cool,
my
doesn't
god,
it?
he's from one of the movies? Oh
One of
my
the
god, he
Transformers
is from one
movies.
of the movies. I'm
Like
looking
one
at
of
him
the
right
animated
now.
movies.
No,
right?
one of
No.
the real movies.
The live action.
Well, I thought
Shia
all the live action movies were based on the original Transformers.
No, not this guy. He's an original.
Oh, you mean a non-original?
Yep, he's from the good one, The Last Night.
He talks shit to somebody too, if I remember right. I think he tells someone like, "Say hello to your wife for me" or something like that. Like as he's leaving, it's just the most ridiculous thing, but I love it.
As a giant alien robot that turns into a truck says, "Say hello to your wife for me."
Oh my gosh, he's a tertiary antagonist from The Last Night. A trash-talking,
Just watch
strutting,
his introduction
self-aggrandizing
and you'll
jerk.
love it.
Oh my god.
You cannot force me to watch Michael Bay movies. That is something I learned a long time ago.
He
Don't do that.
turns into a fighter jet. Oh man.
So he's like shitty Starscream.
Yeah, he's like Starscream, but he just talks shit to people, and then I'm pretty sure he dies pretty quick.
You're the regional assistant to the Starscream, who's the regional assistant to the general manager.
Yeah, he is. After the death of Starscream, Nitro Zeus becomes Megatron's new
It's exactly
second
what
in
he
command.
is.
Oh god, I was right. He likes jets.
Oh man.
Maybe Aaron's Megatron. Aaron
I
likes
had
jets.
no idea. I think I like it. I think I like that you owned that character and you're like, you saw him and you're like, he is my avatar on this earth.
Yep.
I mean, it's better than one who parks. So
If you look up my name
It's a
in
play
Webster's
on words.
Dictionary, it says one who parks. That's how I figured
sure,
it out.
one person chose an antagonist, trash-talking antagonist robot. The other one went to the fucking dictionary to get there.
I didn't say
online
mine was
handle.
better. I just said mine was fine.
I mean, when I made up a stupid name for my name, it was Brandoff, because instead of Brandon, it's Brandoff.
Oh,
But I decided to go with the not really stupid ones and made up a fake name, Utilus.
no.
And then Aaron made fun of me for a week, and now he's Treffenwood.
Treffenwood is a great name for
A direct quote: anyone
elf?
who goes by a stupid internet name is dumb. It's like, okay, Aaron. 3 weeks later, I go by Treffenwood on Discord.
well, I think we all
There's too
learned
many Aarons, is what Aaron learned.
I think we all learned that Zach is who we need to go to for our names from now on, because that's a really strong choice.
Nitro Zeus.
How did
I'll
you
give you more
like?
Transformers names.
I was gonna.
Yeah, you gotta give Parker a Transformer name.
Oh my god! He's like, oh, I have tons of names. They're all Transformer names, but I have tons.
I like to imagine he had this list of like possible choices, and he really thought about it for a while. He's like, all right, today I'm eliminating Matchbox 5, and you're like, dude, that guy's out now. It's down to Nitro Zeus and like Aluminum Foil Man.
Oh my god! I love that you even picked one from the shitty old later movies. Oh, it's just so perfect.
I love when people get it too, when they like say it, or they're like, "Oh, that's from Transformers," and I'm like, "Yes, you know it. That's great."
Wait, you're excited they've also seen Transformers? The bad
That
movie?
specific one, yeah.
Oh, okay. Is The Last Night good?
That's
No,
fine.
no,
Because The Last
it's not.
Night is the
It's a
Dinobots
travesty.
one, right?
It's not good.
Okay, good. I was making sure I wasn't like lost there. I was told that I want to like by a friend of mine. He's like, I'm going to see it because I want to see Optimus Prime with a sword riding a Tyrannosaurus, and that's what they're going to give me. I'm like, all right, that's fine. Like, you have a good reason.
That was
Like,
not The Last Night. That was a different.
Which one was it?
That was
Which
Age of
one?
Extinction.
Age of Extinction.
Yeah.
Okay. What was The Last Night then? Is that just a made up one?
No,
pretty much.
Yeah, it's really dumb. Would you like to know?
It's just King Arthur Transformers.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah,
that's
you
pretty
find
much
yeah,
it.
they're there.
I just thought that was the dinosaur one.
I wish I could
The
tell
dinosaurs
you that there
are
was
there
like.
too.
I wish I could tell you
Okay,
the plot,
see?
but
Dinosaur
there's
one.
none really. The plot is so poor; it's really hard.
All right, but we're getting way off track.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Zach,
Circle back to
congratulations
sanity.
on
Yeah.
winning and for that wonderful Discord name that we now understand
All
the
right.
origin of.
I don't know how wonderful that is, but I have a request for Zach that I feel like he owes this to us now that he has won and we haven't. Is you have to hold this over your brother forever.
Oh, I will. Without
Every
a doubt.
time he's like, when you're like, hey, you should change this model for this model on your list, he's like, I don't think so. I like this model. You're like, well, when I won TTS League, that's what I would have done. just
I should
casually
do
insert
that. I should casually do that just to shit, like not even for my own list, just to shit on his list. Like, look, as a
Don't
TTS
tell
finals winner,
Don't tell
if
him I
I
said
was
that.
building your list, I would take that shit out and do this instead. I'm just gonna tell him to
Did-
put Red Skull 2 in every list. That's gonna be.
Did they give you like a stamp or certificate or something? Even something digital, you can just like flash them on your phone just to be like, yeah, but
Yeah, is
Do
there
you
like a
have one of
sweet
these?
trophy?
There's a virtual trophy in TTS that has a plaque that has, I think, a picture of Black Panther, and it says I won, and I get a virtual plaque. But I do. I was actually going to ask you, Brandon. I might want to 3D print a trophy too, just so I can show that
I
off.
was gonna say is like if they have like if it's in 3-dimensional space on TTS, they have to have an STL for it.
It's flat.
And
I
so-
don't think it's a 2D.
It's a plaque.
Damn.
You get your name added to it.
But if there's, well, I guess if there's an actual trophy, we could. I'm sure someone's probably already made one, but if not, I can just make a random trophy and print one out for you.
well, I think you should just take a screenshot of that plaque, and then every time he gives you shit, just slowly
Be
turn
like,
your phone.
Hey, is
towards
that
him.
your name on there?
Oh, whose is that name? Is that
Or like
does that say the
you
name
get
of a
into a rules
transformer?
argument, you're like,
Is that
oh,
what it
I'm
is?
pretty sure that works. You're like, no, it doesn't.
Look,
You're
in
like,
my
oh, hold on a second.
TTS
Yeah, I
finals
just looked
game,
it up,
this
and you
came
just
up.
turn your phone around. It's the plaque. You're like, yeah, it says it does.
No, it's funny because my parents and our younger brothers who know nothing about the game, like they were excited for me, and so one of my younger brothers went to my parents' house and like signed into Twitch and streamed it on their TV, and so they have no fucking clue what's going on, and so they're having to
That's
just.
a lot of color.
And Josh is not there with them, so they're having to ask our other two brothers who also don't know shit about this game to communicate to them what's going on. And so then after we went out and saw a movie and had dinner, and they were like, okay, so what the hell does this mean? And like I had to give my dad 50 explanations of things because he's like, I think it was going good. Like, I don't know. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, it's like my wife or family. Anytime I've been on a stream game or TTS finals and they're watching it, yeah, they have no clue. They have to listen to the announcers
They have no
to
idea.
figure out if they're saying someone's advantage. That's all they do.
When I first got into gaming, I started going to a store called 31st Century, and one of my gaming mentors over there, his name was Richard. He lived right down the street, but he was like the guy who won all the 40K tournaments. So I got into 40K playing with him, and his wife was a clown, like a literal clown. She would dress up and perform for kids and stuff, and she had like a theater job. And So she was a very charismatic, outgoing person, and Richard was very much an introvert. And so when he would win, there was always a trophy that he would get. And it was just this little shitty trophies we made at the store. And it was usually like, typical block of plastic with a Space Marine model glued on top of it and spray painted gold, something like that. So when he would win, and he would win literally every tournament, and so he would take them home and he'd try and hide them. And she would always find them, like in the closet or under the bed or in the garage or the basement or something. And she'd bring them out and put them on the mantle when they had guests over. And so she would this is my husband's geek trophies. And she would have to explain what they would all mean to these people that aren't gamers. It was super fun.
See, I have that with my Magneto helmet, honestly. Of people will be like,
well, you wear it to Chipotle.
Only once.
Okay.
But my neighbors one time were like, you play this game, what do you like? I'm like, I like the Brotherhood. And they're like, oh, I watched the X-Men show and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I've got a Magneto helmet. And they're like, what? And I'm like, all right, hold on 1 second. And so I just went and got it and put it on. They loved it. And so I'm gonna get a shelf soon and hang it up in my office. That's my real goal now. And Brandon, I know you'll appreciate it, is I need to get a Brotherhood win in the TTS finals with Magneto. I don't know if that's actually possible, but
it's not.
It's a dream.
I was saying everything.
It would be great.
Everything you just described about characters that are generally good and leaderships that are generally good, and he was like, but I think I'm going to do that same thing with Brotherhood. I'm like,
look, they get 3 new models soon. Maybe they won't be shitty, and there we go.
All that they have plenty of.
The problem is not that they're shitty, because I wouldn't call really any of the Brotherhood models.
No, I think they have very good models overall.
Right. So the problem is they're all 6 out of 10s, and what wins events is 9 out of 10s.
Yeah.
And so none of their models are bad. They just don't have really powerful synergies. They just have independently good models. There's obviously some synergies. There's going to be some in every affiliation. But there's just too many counter synergies where it's all of their good models are expensive, or all of their cheap models are really squishy. And so there's just a lot of things that it's just not quite there. I don't think any one model's going to fix that. And it's not like they're all broken and they don't work.
Right.
It's just that they don't work well enough, or what they do isn't rewarded by victory conditions. What they're really good at is just playing a middle grindy fest where they make a brick and they just out-bully you. They're really good at that, but that's not rewarded by anything in the game.
Right.
That's not how you get victory points. That's not how you get victories. And so it's just that we look at it and it's oh, well, who does something directly correlated with winning? Web Warriors. Hey, guess what? They're really fucking good at winning games. And you're so it's just well, what do you do that wins games? They're I don't know. We could go wide with Mystique. And you're cool. A lot of factions can do that.
Yep. You're not wrong.
Yeah. But I mean, I love all of their models. I think they're all really fun.
I think you probably just need to put Red Skull 2 in there. And
yeah, I do.
Parker, I've considered it quite a bit.
He's actually great. The only problem is now you have 2 really good models that need mobility.
Yeah.
But I mean, having the grunt in there is amazing.
You just become or even if it's with Mystique, you become so unbelievably wide on secures because you have them and the token and him, and you're just 8 wide scoring on secures somehow, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Can't stop, won't stop. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
I found out everything that I'm excited to know about Zach, even where he got his name, and I'm really pleased to know.
I'm glad. I'll be there tomorrow. Probably not playing Wakanda, but maybe.
You just give it a victory lap at the local store. I like it.
Aaron needs a shout out. Aaron beat this exact list when we played in October in Springfield. This was model for model the exact list that we played. I even convinced him to not play his own Thanos when I was never playing mine, and he still beat me. So Aaron is the real. He beat me. I can't even think of the word now, but he beat me. So
by the transitive property,
yeah.
he won the league.
If we take trophies away from anyone who's ever lost a game, that would be a very short list.
No, this is all you, Zach. You did great.
Yeah, good job, man. All right, well, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed meeting Zach and hearing about his games on a computer game. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Aaron.
And Zach.
And you've just listened to Zach Owns a Magneto Helmet.
So what are we gonna call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just gonna put down infamous.
We're back.
With Zach?
Yes.
Yay!
I assume that I'm just so good at the claps that people want me to do it multiple times.
I think you're so good at it that people are instantly intimidated. And
Yeah.
they they don't want to say anything.
I'm so impressed by your ability to count to 5. I mean, after hearing other people do it, you don't realize how hard it is.
Unlike Psycho Stick, I can count to 5.
That was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Like, when I listened to it, it was Thanksgiving, and I paused it, took my headphones out, and told my brother. I was like, you have to listen to this right now.
Stop what you're doing. Stop breathing. Listen to this.
To a grown man try to use a metronome.
Wait. Are we talking about the Psycho Stick music video, or are we talking about Jeremy?
I was talking about Jeremy's metronome.
Oh, okay. I was talking about, there's a song by Psycho Stick called I Can Only Count to 4.
Oh, no.
And it's a spoof of Drowning Pools, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Oh.
It's also magical, but it is not quite Jeremy trying to count. I'm going to buy him the Count from Sesame Street doll for Christmas.
My favorite part is how absolutely baffled he was by the metronome. Just like the mechanism of a metronome.
He probably didn't know what it was.
Right.
Like, he's completely oblivious to tempo.
He said it many times. He was like, what? I don't...
It was just so funny. He's like 1, 2, 3, 5. Like, it was like, just keep saying 4, man. It's all right.
My personal favorite is when he started arguing with the metronome. He's like, stop it! Don't do that! All right. So Parker, I was going to tell you this earlier, but Zach showed up, so now we're going to do it live.
Okay.
So I have a spoiler from last week's D&D session that you missed.
Ooh.
So you know how the dungeon you guys are in is just a terrible place?
Yeah, I really dislike it. Not like from a me standpoint, from like my character standpoint. I'm ready.
Character's just like, I wish I literally would rather be in the center of the sun than in this fucking dungeon.
It's just so
It's
soul
like
grinding.
if the thing from The Thing made a dungeon, this is what the dungeon would be like.
Yeah.
There's like mutants and like fleshy stuff and gooey ichor everywhere, and like the dungeon is like alive.
Yeah.
And so you're in like an intestinal tract almost. It's really gross.
I'm not gonna lie. My character is a warforged, so he can't mutate. But if I had a like living flesh character, I would be so mad. The thought of him
you're like growing scales,
changing,
and shit.
Yeah, and it's just terrifying.
Yeah. Anyway, so last week they found a faceless gurgler, and so they open a door to this room, and the room is like really gross and slimy, and in the middle of the room there's just this big pit with no railing. I don't know if you're ahead of me yet, but let's just stay on track. Okay. So I'm like, so you guys go into the room, and everyone's like, no. I'm like, all right, well, you hear this weird gurgling noise coming from the pit. And they're like, we're definitely not going in this room. I was like, well, you can go back the way you came. And they're like, well, we're not doing that either. I was like, well, you just go stand at the doorway? And so they did that for a while. And eventually, Ryan's like, screw this. I'm going into the room. I was like, all right, well, as soon as you step in the room, you notice the floor is really slippery. So you need a reflex save every time you try and move or you fall down. And he's like, whatever, I'm good at that. So he rolls and he stays on his feet. And he's like, all right. I walk closer to the pit. I'm like, well, as you start to notice, the footing gets even more treacherous the closer you get to the slightly sloped flooring pit. And he's like, I know what's going to happen here. I'm going to slip and fall into the pit. I was like, do you want to keep going? He's like, yeah, I'm going to keep going. So he gets right next to the pit. I was like, all right, you notice right next to the edge of the pit, it's ridiculously slippery. And the check is now twice as hard. And he rolls and he barely makes it. And he slips and falls down, but he doesn't fall in the pit. And then he kind of looks over the edge down to the pit. And I described the thing named Flesh Thing. And it's just like a soupy monster. And the description of it is, it makes this wet, smacking, thwacking sound as it tries to climb the side of the pit. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, it's trying to climb up after you. It starts splitting off these tentacles and reaching up at you. He's like, fuck this! It's like, you're the one that went up to the pit, sir.
Wow.
And so they throw a rope to him. They're trying to drag him out of the room. And I just keep describing the thing slapping against the sidewalls. And it's like just imagine you have a big bowl of mac and cheese and you just like jiggle it really hard.
Jesus.
And so they nicknamed the monster Mac Attack. And so the Mac Attack was the most dangerous monster they found.
Ugh. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for this dungeon. I'm ready to find out what the fuck we're supposed to do here and get the fuck out.
Yep. Anyway, that was D&D update.
I'll say this, and then I will let it end. I don't know how you kept a straight face every time for the first like 2 PlayStations. We're going, I think we should go to that thing. I think we should go to that dungeon and find out what's down there.
We should go see what that thing that the random villager referred to as the gate to hell is.
Yeah, I think we should go check it out. And we kept saying it. I don't know how you like kept a straight face knowing that the Mac Attack was
the
in there somewhere
ahead of you. Yeah. That was like a year ago now. You guys have been fucking dealing with this shit for a while.
We have been in there for a while. Anyway, that's now we can actually stop talking about D&D, but that's an aside. Zach, do you play D&D at all? Have you ever D&D'd?
I have D&D. I haven't for a while because all of my brothers play like in person, and I haven't had a chance with my little dudes. But we actually just started playing Baldur's Gate like 2 weeks ago, so that's going to be as close as I get to for a little bit.
Is Baldur's Gate? I'm about to display my ignorance. Does Baldur's Gate have co-op? Like you play with others?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I did not know that. For some reason, I thought it was a single-player game. I don't know why. Huh. Of course.
I believe all of the Baldur's Gate have been up to at least 4-player.
Yeah. That's really cool.
You know, since it's supposed to be D&D.
Right, no, like it makes perfect sense. For some reason, I just have nobody I know was wanted to play Baldur's Gate with me at the same time, and so I have been like my finger hovering over the buy button on Baldur's Gate so many times, and there's always been another game that's like taken my attention, but it's happened many times. What do you think of it? Do you like it?
Oh, it's been very fun. I really like how the feel of D&D, where it's like you can just do whatever. Like one of the first encounters, I decided I would shoot this rope that was holding a stone, and it crashed and accidentally killed 2 people. And I thought I was helping them out, but evidently they didn't need our help. So we got into a giant fight, and then I was like, hey, I bet this hole in the ground probably has treasure in it. So I just was like, I'm going to jump down. And so all of my brothers are like looting. I jumped down. I'm like, hey, there's 6 dudes right here. I need your help immediately. And then as soon as they all jump in, someone threw like a fire grenade in. And it was like, we're all on fire. And they're like, hey, how about you don't fucking jump in holes in the ground and we can talk about this? And I'm like, all right, that one's on me. I was excited.
That is a lot like D&D. They've really captured it. That's pretty good. But at the dinner, at the table, when you're playing D&D, you don't usually like the hole's not obvious, right? Unless the DM really set up the room well. But in a video game, you actually have all the stuff to click on, so you're tempted to just start mousing around or clicking around until you find something that works. That's cool.
Yeah, we ran a couple campaigns when I was younger in 3rd edition, and then I've done one with my brothers in 4th, and had a buddy run a Star Wars one for a little bit. So we've tried a couple different ones. We just haven't had one recently.
Yeah. Cool. Aside from Brandon's game, the only long one I've ever had was a Legends of the Five Rings game, and that one was super duper fun. That's still my favorite game system to RPG in. It's a blast.
I love the mechanics of L5R, but it's really hard to get a group of people together that want to play in that setting.
Yeah, the setting is really tough to RP. Yeah. Yes.
Because it's such a fine line of like, I don't know, just like social etiquette and like what you can do and what you can't do. Because you're really just playing chicken with the GM on when he'll punish you for acting out of like standard, social etiquette. It's like, well, I'm just gonna like kill this guy, and you're like, well, you kind of can't, but also like you can. So like it's just if he's gonna punish you for it or not.
Zach, I had a side quest on the podcast tonight to try to recruit you into playing Path of Exile with Aaron, my brother, and I, because we're excited to play. But I do not know if you have any interest in Path of Exile.
Path of Exile?
Yeah.
You have talked about it? I don't know if I have seen... Oh, Path of Exile 2 is about to come out, right?
Yes, the sequel is the one that's about to come out, yes.
I'll look at it. I think I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
I haven't played the first Path of Exile, so I don't know if that matters or if it's.
Well, if it's Aaron, do you think it matters? Do you think it matters at all? I'll let you, since talking to the Path of Exile 1 aficionado.
Zach, do you enjoy that feeling you have when you orgasm?
Yeah, that's a. I'd have to think about it, but I think that's a good feeling.
Okay. Then you'll probably like Path of Exile 2, even if you haven't played Path of Exile 1.
All right.
I know this is bad of me, but I really hope the game sucks now. I hope it's worse than Diablo 4.
I don't think it can suck. I could think it be. I foresee it to be a little bit bumpy at first. But I don't think it's going to suck. I think it's going to be really strong.
I am not trying to convince anyone to join the early access portion of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have not played a single minute, so I feel it would be unwise is the wrong term. But how am I possibly supposed to recommend someone play something just based on hype? Like, the hype is internal to me. Like, I'm going to be playing it starting 2 days from now. After that, I might have some solid recommendations. But all I can say is I will be playing it. I anticipate it to be very good. But like you said, it'll be bumpy on launch because it is early access. But if you're, it just depends. Do you want to wait for all those kinks to get ironed out and then pick the game up in 6 months? When it goes live, or do you want to experience those bumps as the company irons them out along the way? And I want that. So
yeah,
anyway,
makes sense.
I'm just excited to dive into something new that I'm really excited for because I feel like I had a lot of video games let me down in the past 18 months, and one of the reasons why I actually thought about getting Baldur's Gate is because everybody said it's a really, really, really good game, and so but I literally have tried 5 other games with other friends and family since then, and been disappointed by all of them except Destiny 2. But even then, Destiny 2 is the only reason why I'm not mad about that one is it's just the same game I've been playing for a decade, so it's never let me down.
Yeah.
It's never let me down. It's very.
I'm kind of the same with you. I feel like there's been some games that I've been excited for that have let me down, especially pre-ordering stuff where it's okay, I'm a little less inclined now to get something in pre-order for it. I want to see it out a little bit or maybe play in early access, and then I'll see if it's something I like.
Well, Path of Exile, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but the current price to get in is still $0, right?
No, the current price is $30.
Okay.
They're charging for early access. If you want to wait for the 1.0 release, at that point it will be free.
I see.
Oh, interesting.
It's a free to play. They make all of their money off of MTXs, and every single MTX is free. Is not pay to win. It's not unlocking in-game stuff, other than stash tabs. I think you get 4 to start with, or at least you did in Path of Exile.
It's just a convenience thing as opposed to an effectiveness thing.
Yeah, well, people were bitching well, how am I supposed to play 8 characters to max level? And at that point, I'm like, maybe you should give the company $20 because clearly you're enjoying their game.
Yeah.
Buy some fucking stash tabs, you idiot. Yeah, so no, it's like Path of Exile, the original one has always been free to play. I think they did the same thing when they had some of their major updates. They would have a small supporter pack that you can buy. That gives you, so I already bought it, but it gives you 300 gold coins that you use for the MTXs. And I think stash tabs are 20 gold coins a pop, maybe 30. So you're kind of getting it back
in the game.
Yeah, that's how they're charging for their game. $30 for early access, and then free on launch.
Okay.
Comes out in a couple days. You said, yeah. There we go. December 6th. Aaron's got a few more days.
36 hours.
Is this why you're not playing Judgment on Friday?
No.
Oh.
It would be, though.
So you're saying Judgment is 3, at least.
3 what?
In your priority list.
Oh. I mean, priorities shift all the time.
Judgment is my number 1 this week. I really want to try the new characters real bad. I am pumped.
Are you going Yasmin or the goblins?
Don't make me choose.
Don't make me choose.
I'll keep this brief. I was all in for Yasmin because I made a list and I'm convinced that she's broken and I want to show everybody that she's broken. Maybe I'm wrong and she's not, but I think she is. So I think Yasmin's probably the first one I have to play. But while I was listening to your podcast, a couple of the things that you guys talked about, I connected dots to something that you did not find, and I'm excited to bring to the game store and show you how I think the goblins could be really abusable. I found a few things while I was listening to your guys' critique of it, so I'm excited to bring it to the store.
Okay. I'm excited to get got.
So I think the goblins have have a lot of really interesting interactions that no other characters have right now, with some character effects and some other stuff. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to play them. Yasmin is just really, really, really good. I think she's just excellent, and so I think she's going to make the list I already play just better. She's just a straight upgrade, an extreme upgrade actually. But Bale and Sarna are really crafty and interesting, and I've got a couple cool tricks that I've discovered. I think I want to see if they work or not.
Cool.
So I need to play 2 games this week somehow, and play D&D, and play Path of Exile. I do not know how I'm going to do all these things, but I will try.
We believe in you.
How do I bet on this?
You
bet on this.
You can't
That
bet
it
on
won't
this.
happen.
What's going to happen is I'm just going to sacrifice sleep for it, and I should not. But that's what's going to end up
How
happening.
if you can sacrifice sleep to play Judgment?
If I could, I would. But I
You're just
don't.
gonna sleep through D&D again.
That's what'll end up happening. Probably yes. I will probably fall asleep during D&D. That will probably be the thing that happens. I think it's the fumes in that room, man. I think that's what does it. I think it's the.
You're making it up.
I think it's.
You're just
I
a
think I
little
lose.
baby.
I think I lose oxygen to the brain, and I just
Let's start it.
go out.
All right. Well, I guess we'll jump into Mojo World now. Zach, our guest this week, has decided on the topic of Harrison Ford movies. So Zach will go first.
Damn it.
You have to go, Zach. It's your topic. You get the cream of the crop. You get the freshest apple.
You know what they say is the cream always rises to the top. All right, so it'll be Zach, then Aaron, then Parker, then me. Cool. All right, Zach, what is your number 1 pick?
Super basic, super predictable. Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
See, this guy actually knows what order the Star Wars movies go in. It makes it harder. All right, New Hope. All right, Aaron, first pick.
It kind of pains me, but it has to be Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. Why does it pain you? Do you not like the movie?
No, I do. I like another movie better, but Raiders has to be the Harrison Ford pick because of what it did for him. I really think it potentially more than Star Wars 4 cemented him as a quote unquote swashbuckling action movie hero.
I'll
of
tell
the
you what,
90s.
if you don't pick Raiders, I won't pick the movie you're thinking of.
Okay.
Because it's not making it back to you.
Go ahead.
All right.
Parker.
Last Crusade. I wanted it so bad. It's my favorite.
All right. So this is why it sucks to go fourth sometimes, because just 3 obvious number 1 picks right off the board. All right. Let's see what I got here. Let me clear up this list. That was literally my top 3, but I think that was probably most people's top 3. Let's go with Empire Strikes Back and just to scorn Aaron, The Fugitive. All right, Parker, second pick.
Let's go with. I've already done this one, but I really, really love this movie because I also love Heart of Darkness. Apocalypse Now. I want to do Apocalypse Now.
All right.
I'll take Return of the Jedi.
All right, Zach, you get 2 in a row now.
I'll take
Close it out.
Blade Runner,
Lame.
and I'll take Patriot games.
All right.
Air Force One.
Just take
I
them all.
cannot believe that I still have things left on my list.
Yeah.
This blows my fucking mind.
Well, you took fucking Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
I think Apocalypse Now has been picked in the last like 8 fucking picks.
Yeah, we have done it a lot. It's been common.
I think it just has a lot of actors in it. Is why it keeps getting picked.
It does. It's star-studded. All right. My last one is going to be actually a hot take because I really like this movie. It's a very polarizing movie. I'm going to pick Force Awakens. I actually like Force Awakens. And not a little.
I like Force Awakens, and I like his role in it.
Yeah. You're exactly right. I liked Han Solo in Force Awakens. I like.
We use the Force. That's not how the Force works.
There's a bunch of really fun things in that movie, and I know some people hated the homage. I loved the homages, so I'm gonna.
I like the homages a lot. The only problem I have with Force Awakens is when they manually disengage the light speed drive in between the space of the shield and the planet, which is like an incalculable small number of time. Yeah. Like it's like 8/1000ths of a nanosecond. Yeah. Like you would have had to pull that lever.
I get it.
I know, and that's the only thing that bothers me. If it was a computer doing it, I would still be annoyed, but I wouldn't be as upset.
Actually, I would have been fine if it was space wizardry. Like if
like I'm gonna use the Force and it will tell me when. I'm like, yeah sure, whatever. Like they at least said there's a reason. Not he's like, that feels good. Like it's like milk shoots out my nose. What? Anyway, moving on. So Parker picked Force Awakens, the very last pick of the draft. Let's see what we got. I still have 3 things on my list, which surprises me. I'm not a huge fan of any of these movies. I'll go with Ender's Game. I think he has a better role in that than the other movie I was going to pick. All right, so let's see. We have Blade Runner and Star Wars. We have Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Airplane Star Wars. And we have Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And we have Star Wars and Fugitive. It's almost like we knew what was going to happen.
I actually will say
we should do Mark Hamill next time.
Do I need to see this movie again to find out that it's terrible? Is Cowboys and Aliens actually really, really bad?
I mean, it's a meme.
I don't remember.
No, it is not
terrible.
It's
not
bad,
but it's watchable.
So, go ahead. Well, why is it not terrible? I remember really enjoying it, but I think I must have been. What was it? Early 20s? When was that
out? Came out in
you were not a child.
Yeah, I know
so I equate it to like Will Smith's Wild Wild West. The movie knows what it is. It's not that movie is not trying to be a serious Western. Just like Cowboys and Aliens is not trying to be a serious anything. Mm-hmm. It knows what its premise is, and so as long as you're okay with that, I found the movie enjoyable. Granted, it's been a decade and a half, but
I was gonna say Daniel Craig, Olivia Wilde, Sam Rockwell. Yeah, these are all like. I think this probably what happens is these actors probably put this movie on their back and just carry the shit out of it. I don't feel like it should be that bad, but we'll see. I guess I'm gonna need to see it. I
mean, there's some like actors you can just put in a room. I would just pay to listen to them have a conversation. It doesn't really matter what the writing is. It's like you just put these people in a room. It's like you can't really have a bad movie.
Yeah.
For me, his name is Robert Duvall. I will watch Robert Duvall talk. Like I love watching movies with him.
Is that the West Wing guy? Who's Duvall?
No, Robert Duvall he's been in a ton of things. You know what? Let's just save it. Let's just save it. Maybe I'll use him one day. That's maybe.
Oh, okay, Robert Duvall. Okay,
if I win one, I think I'll throw him down. I'm gonna write this down as a note for myself.
Yeah, sure.
You know what movie I watched the other day, and I kind of like you said, like milk coming out of my nose. I was laughing so hard at the ridiculousness of it. Days of Thunder. My God, that movie is so silly. Tom Cruise, NASCAR movie.
Yeah. What's ridiculous about it? I don't remember enough of the movie to know.
How insanely unrealistic the NASCAR racing is in a way that is bizarrely bad. In a way that I'm not a NASCAR fan, but I think NASCAR fans must throw things at their screen while watching this movie. I think they could. I think they must hate it because of how insanely unrealistic it is compared to actual NASCAR racing.
Is it like when Tropic Thunder has more realistic races than you do?
What's the like? Let me think of something that we could think of. It was.
I know his thing is like he goes on the outside, like is his move, and that
That's
nobody
his
normally
move.
does that.
Well, I guess the thing is they hand wave an insane amount of actual things that go into racing,
Yeah,
and it just doesn't exist in the movie. And they make it seem like it's guys driving like regular cars is the kind of the feel of it. But anyway,
yeah. I there's that about a lot of stuff. Like the movie Maverick is a cool movie, but like if you actually look at like the poker hands that they play, especially in the final game, they always try and make it so crazy over the top that it's just like, oh well, royal flush and 4 of a kind, like these are the hands everybody has. Like it's like all of these hands are like a fucking 1 in 10,000, and you're like, it's like everyone has one in the same hand. It's like that's ridiculous.
sure.
But yeah, all sports movies in general are usually pretty bad, where it's like they just don't know how to make a sport like look realistic and also be dramatic. Like they don't, even though it's like sports are dramatic, that's the whole point. Like you clearly haven't watched a Chiefs game lately if you think sports are boring.
You tell me you can't clothesline everyone like Remember the Titans?
Yeah, exactly. Like the water boy was like, yeah, he gets 20 sacks a game. Like if you did the math on how absolutely dominant a 20 sack performance would be, like they would never get a first down. Like it's like if you just think about it, it's like, well, the average team only gets 8 to 10 possessions during a game. And so if you averaged 2 sacks per drive, like they'd never get a first down. It's like, yeah, you'd win like 3-0 like every fucking game if you had no offense. So honorable mentions, I wanted to pick Anchorman 2 and Temple of Doom as well. But
I thought one of you would pick Temple of Doom, so I wasn't really like prepping for
it's just clearly the weakest of the Indiana Jones movies that we accept.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I actually would have chosen the holiday special if you would have picked everything, but because I think it's worth watching
to see the holiday special.
Yeah.
I think it was one year we were like, you guys were playing X-Wing on like Christmas Eve or some shit, so I put on the holiday special. I hit it on YouTube because it's just free on YouTube. Nobody cares. And that movie is terrifyingly bad.
Yeah.
There's a scene where they like cut away to an X-Wing hangar and Luke is just hanging out in his like orange jumpsuit. But Mark Hamill had just been in a car accident, so they have him like plastered in makeup to try and make him not look all bruised up and cut up. And he looks like a orange doll. Like it doesn't even look realistic. Like it looks so fucking crazy. You're like, this is a stunt double, right? That's not really Mark Hamill. It actually would have been better if they went with a stunt double. It looks so bad. And then yeah, Parker's not kidding. There's a whole like 20-minute sequence at the start of the movie where no one there speaks English, and so they just have the Wookiees talking to each other in Wookiee. And there's no subtitles. It's just, they're just making weird grunting and howling noises.
Nor body
and
language.
It's
like an intense debate.
Thought about it being a language.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there's just like, you're just watching, like, there's like the baby Wookiee, and then like the mom Wookiee is cooking, and then there's like Grandpa Wookiee is watching football and yelling at the child. Like, she's like, what is going on? And then eventually somebody shows up and they start talking in English, and you're like, what the fuck? But yeah. All right, you guys ready to do this?
Ready.
All right, let me get a timestamp. We'll get started.